The third and final race of the weekend in the F4 Spanish Championship 2024 here at the Circuit de Catalunya. This is the race that will show us who will be champion overall over the course of the season. Mattia Colnaghi of Italy or Chiano Alazzari of the United Arab Emirates. It's a straight fight between our two championship contenders, neither of which will start from the front row of the grid for this final race of the year. The pole position went the way of James Igozzi, the Red Bull youngster from Miami in Florida. Our championship protagonists, Mattia Colnaghi and Chiano Alazzari, will start from 5th and 6th on the starting grid. They will share the third row. And for Mattia Colnaghi, he is just a few mere points away from sealing the championship. Going into the weekend, he was second in the points race. But after race 2, when Chiano Alazzari was dramatically given a track limits extension penalty of 5 seconds while the race had finished behind the safety car, he dropped from third position ultimately to the top spot, all the way down out of the points. And that means that Mattia Colnaghi, who managed to come home for the victory in that race, now has a lead in the championship of 15 points going into this very last race of the season. What does that mean in real terms? Well, it means that for fans of Mattia Colnaghi, all they need to expect from Mattia to get the job done in this last race is 6th position or better from this last race of the season. And considering he's starting 5th place on the grid ahead of his main rival Chiano Alazzari, that definitely bodes well for the KCL MP Motorsport driver from Italy with Argentine heritage, a country that's very much in vogue when it comes to honing great racing talents of the future. Franco Colapinto, of course, fresh out of the F4 Spanish Championship a few seasons ago, now making waves in Formula One. And Mattia Colnaghi, the Argentine with Italian heritage, has amazing opportunity to continue the bandwagon for the nation. But Mattia Colnaghi needs a best of 6th position from this race to secure the championship title. Had there no been a penalty for Chiano Alazzari, it would have been just 3 points between them going into this final race. But with a 15-point cushion, it definitely makes life a little bit easier for Mattia Colnaghi to cope, especially considering that in front of him on the grid, he's got James Igozzi, Juan Cota, Ernesto Rivera, and Enzo Tarnvinichkul to play with. Chiano Alazzari starts from P6 on the grid, needing to get to the podium at the very minimum if he wants to be the F4 Spanish champion. Hello, everybody. Great to be with you for one more time in the F4 Spanish Championship. I'm Jake Stanson in the commentary box. Down in pit lane, we have Alex Garcia, who has been watching all of the action unfold over the course of the weekend. But the way that this championship has pitched and tossed over the course of the weekend and now finds itself very much in the hands of Mattia Colnaghi, 15 points clear going into this final race of the season on the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, the home of Spanish Formula One racing since the 1991 Spanish Grand Prix. There have been so many incredible scenes here over the years. Mansell versus Senna, wheel to wheel with sparks flying down to the first corner in 1991. Schumacher giving Ferrari their first win together in the 1996 edition of the race. Hakkinen breaking down on the last lap of the race while leading in 2001. And of course, so many incredible battles since then on this magnificent circuit. It's going to be a tough one for Spanish F4. 30 minutes will go on the clock, plus the additional lap that is added to that. And as the cars come around from their reconnaissance laps, we are going to be on the starting grid, ready for the final race of the 2024 F4 Spanish Championship season. Chiano Alazzari needs a minimum of 3rd position plus the fastest lap to win this particular championship title. He can win the race with he can win the title with a 2nd or a 1st if he doesn't get the fastest lap. But the only way to be champion is to get on the podium and set fastest lap if it's 3rd place. 2nd or 1st would do. Of course, everybody in the motor racing community out here in Spain stands with Valencia, the city grossly affected by the floods, the DNA event that took place just a couple of weeks ago. Over 200 lives lost, and it is a bitter pill to swallow for the Spanish motor racing community, especially with so many of our friends and colleagues based in the city of Valencia. We do have some crowdfunding pages set up. Do please head to our social media pages if you are able to. Please give generously. We've been doing what we can to aid the community of Valencia with our various resources and our time, as well as our people power. We've only really scratched the surface of what is possible to get the city of Valencia back on its feet, but we would like to think that you as a community can join with us and assist. Even a few euros here or there would go a long, long way, especially if all of you did it. And we could do an amazing amount of work to pick the pieces up from a fantastic city that has hosted so many great motor racing events over the last 20 years. So we had the Valencia flags on the grid earlier today as we held a minute's silence, and the nation's anthem of the city of Valencia played out over the course of the circuit, not just for the F4 Spanish and Euro Cup 3 drivers to host, but also the other competitors on this final RFEDA weekend in the Spanish motor racing calendar. There are other categories racing here this weekend. The RFEDA weekends, of course, sponsored by Napa. The Toyota safety car, which has already been used quite a few times in the F4 Spanish Championship this weekend. Hopefully it won't be used too many more times as we go into the final race of the weekend. But Alex Garcia is down there on the starting grid. Alex, a championship showdown between Mattia Colnaghi and Chiara Malazzari with 15 points now to the good for Colnaghi. I bet he didn't think he was going to get that when he woke up yesterday morning.
No, I don't think so, Jake. Anyone could be forgiven, though, for thinking that Mattia Colnaghi's title is now a foregone conclusion. But to be honest, you know it. We've seen all sorts of situations this year. We've seen penalties that we didn't expect. We've seen safety cars that changed the whole thing, the whole story of a race without expecting it as well. We've seen drivers who made impossible overtakes. We've seen dominations against all the odds. So to be honest, yes, I think he didn't expect it when he woke up. But also, as he said, as he very eloquently put, every time we talked to Mattia Colnaghi for the whole weekend, let's not get too excited. Those were his words, not mine. So I think that's what we have to go by and see exactly how the situation is resolved. But what I do know is that it's looking to be a cracker because, you know, the whole season has been like this. So one last dance, one last time to enjoy it, and one last time to see these gladiators showing us what they're capable of.
And the man who's really got to fight in this third and final race of the weekend, of course, is Chiara Malazzari. We've done the mathematics and we've calculated that he has to finish on the podium. Third position with the fastest lap is the bare minimum he needs to win this title. And that's only if Mattia Colnaghi doesn't score points. If Chiara Malazzari wins the race and gets the fastest lap, then Mattia Colnaghi would need to be fifth or better, to make sure the championship goes his way. Thank you to Alex Garcia. Obviously, we've got a great race to come. We'll hear from him at the conclusion of this fantastic final race of the year. But with half an hour and one lap left in the season, it is going to be the ultimate battle between Mattia Colnaghi of Italy and Chiara Malazzari of the United Arab Emirates. Who is going to be the champion? Now, Chiara Malazzari definitely needs to go for a few more of those dive bombs that we saw in race 1 and race 2. Only on this occasion, he's got to make them stick. He starts on the third row. It'll be tough from there. James Zagotzi, pole position with Juan Cota alongside. Ernesto Rivera and Enzo Tarvanitschkul on the second row, with Mattia Colnaghi and Chiara Malazzari, the championship contenders, on row 3. 7th for Griffin Peebles. Ali Bansal, the Indian, doing a great job in qualifying 2 this morning in 8th. Ahead of Peter Buzanelos, a good run ahead of Maciej Gladish. Then Nathan Ty and Jan Paszrowski, Tim Gerhards and Renaud Francote. Chase Fernandez did well with Lenny Reed. Then 17th for Andres Cardenas and Hudson Schwartz. Matas Reiber and Adam Hideg. Chrisvel Fagali and Lucas Flusha way down in 22nd. Ahead of Ariel Elkin and Gabriel Gomez. René Lammers struggling alongside Adam Alazzari, the younger brother of Keanu. Francisco Macedo, Joan Ciconti, Theodor Bornstein. Then Alex Jacobi, Christian Cantu, Rafael Terran, Victor Dobzhansky, and then Oscar Vert and Lorenzo Castillo, neither of whom in their Santodox managed to get a qualifying time laid down in the second qualifying session earlier today. Well, it's definitely going to be a fascinating scenario, but for those who missed out on what happened earlier on today, we had a big dramatic end to the race in race 2. For those who switched off just as the safety car was called and thought that, well, it's only going to be 3 points between them, it's actually 15 points between them because Mattia Colnaghi won the race, as we all thought. But Chiara Malazzari was given a track limits penalty as the finish line went out. And that 5 seconds dropped him from what was third position all the way down to 19th. No points in race 2. So now he's got to win this championship the hard way. He's going to need to knuckle down, get some overtakes in, and hope that the cards fall in his favour. Lady Luck has paid both drivers a visit over the course of the season and has also given them no chance to progress in that particular race over the course of the season as well. So it's down to Mattia Colnaghi versus Chiara Malazzari as to who becomes F4 Spanish champion. Weather conditions, air temperature 20 degrees Celsius, track temperature at 25, and the humidity at 61%. Mattia Colnaghi, of course, recently announced that he'll be making his Formula Regional debut next week when they go to the streets of Macau near the beautiful Principality of Hong Kong. And of course, Chiara Malazzari is already a vice champion in F4. He was the second in the F4 United Arab Emirates Championship at the beginning of this season. Came into this season as a favourite, but he's had bad luck as well as good luck. It's a Red Bull youngster, though, on pole position from Miami in Florida. It's James Igotzi, former teammate to Chiara Malazzari in karting when they were both part of the Tony Kart factory effort. The other Red Bull junior in this race, Enzo Tarmanichkul of Thailand, will be starting from 4th place. So we could well be seeing 2 Red Bull juniors on the podium in this one. But it's not done yet. We've seen time and time again. All it takes is for Mattia Kolnagi to have a mechanical problem or to be taken out of the race in another collision, and for Chiara Malazzari to work his way back to the podium. That's only 3 places made up, and it could still all happen in his favour. And of course, Kolnagi could end up with a track limits penalty. You just don't know. Right, it looks to me as though we've had a false start. We've had a aborted start. And that's because we've got somebody in pit lane having an issue there. That looks like the 93, so that's Lorenzo Castillo, who had problems initially, but we've had a false start. So the drivers are going around again for a second formation lap, just to add to the tension. So it's not done yet, and certainly for Lorenzo Castillo, it looks like it might be. I know that Danny and Alex Garcia are down there on the scene, but obviously an interesting scenario for Lorenzo Castillo. It looks as though it's game over for the Santadoc driver as we get an extra formation lap in. Not entirely sure what the reason for that is, but certainly it is game over for Lorenzo Castillo before the race even starts. Very disappointing indeed. So back we go again to formation lap conditions. James Igotzi and Juan Cota on the front row of the starting grid. Ernesto Rivera and Enzo Tarmanichkul. Among them, 4 drivers there who have nothing to lose in this last race of the season. They know they're not going to be champion, so they can just go hell for leather and treat this like any other race. They all want to bow out of the Spanish F4 Championship as a race winner. They always say in motorsport, you're only ever as good as your last race. If you happen to win that, then that shows that you're the top dog. But for Mattia Kolnagi and Chiara Malazzari, there's a very different kind of pressure from the 3rd row of the grid. Both drivers need a decent race to get this championship won. Kolnagi needs 6th or better to guarantee it. Chiara Malazzari has got to finish on the podium if he stands any chance of winning this championship at all. And 3rd position will only be good enough if he A, sets the fastest lap of the race at the same time, and B, sees that his rival Mattia Kolnagi doesn't score points. A win or a 2nd would win the title for Chiara Malazzari. If Alazzari finishes 2nd and gets the fastest lap, he would need Kolnagi to be 9th or lower. And if Alazzari wins the race, he would need Kolnagi to be 6th or lower if he doesn't take the fastest lap. He would need Kolnagi to be 5th or lower if he does. Long faces at Santadoc before the race even begins, as one race has already been cut short. For Lorenzo Castillo does not get his chance to race in the last race of the season. In case of a tie, by the way, if they do happen to tie for points, as we very nearly got in the Euro Cup 3 finale earlier, if they do tie for points, Kolnagi would win the title due to the fact that he has taken 6 wins, and even if Chiara Malazzari would win this final race, he would have 5 compared to Kolnagi on 6. So they cannot afford to tie for points if they are Chiara Malazzari. They've got to finish at least 1 point ahead. If they tie, the title goes to Kolnagi. So Cota on the front row of the starting grid, ready to give chase to James Igotzi. We are ready for this final race of the 2024 F4 Spanish Championship season. The last couple of cars make their way into position. And so now the debating ends. It's all down to what happens on the racetrack. The green flag will fly at the back of the grid, and the remaining 34 drivers in the weekend will be preparing to race to the first corner. Lights are on here at the Circuit de Catalunya. Let's race in Spanish F4. And it's a great start from the middle of the field there as we get a fast charge from Chiara Malazzari, already trying to beat Mattia Kolnagi to the corner, but he's tucked in behind him. Slow start for Enzo Tarmanichkul. Kolnagi's got an absolute flyer. He's up to 4th position as they work their way through turn 1, and Igotzi follows in behind Cota as Alazzari goes around the outside of Kolnagi, has to take to the escape road. He goes the far side round, But as long as Al-Azadi completes the move by doing so, it's a legal overtake. So Kota leads, Igotzi in second, and it looks to me as though it's going to be Rivera in front of Al-Azadi as Mattia Kolnagi has slipped down the order. Drivers work their way forward. That's Rivera getting ahead of Al-Azadi, and Kolnagi has already fallen behind Time for Nitschkel. Could fall behind Nathan Tai as well, but Tai goes off onto the grass and then dives up the inside of Kolnagi as Kolnagi drops to 7th. I can't believe it. The championship scenario that Keanu Al-Azadi needs to happen is actually happening. Kolnagi is losing places, and Keanu Al-Azadi is up into 3rd position already. So this is only 26 and 3/4 minutes into the race, but it looks as though Al-Azadi's perfect scenario is starting to unfold behind him. Safety car, safety car. Oh my goodness, okay. So we need to figure out what the situation is with safety car. Oh my word. We've got 3 cars off at turn 1. So that will be the reason why. This could be a long one as well. Who have we got down there? We've got Adam Hideg, we've got Matas Reiber, and we've got Andres Cardenas down there as well. So absolute pandemonium into turn 1. 3 cars all off together. Let's see if we actually figure out what happened there. Good start from Juan Cota. Absolutely launches away and gets into the lead of the race ahead of James Igotzi. Keanu Al-Azadi, a bullet out of a gun, but he does all the hard work after the initial start. Look, Mattia Kolnagi's in front of him, and watch Kolnagi, he's going to get crowded out here as Al-Azadi throws caution to the winds, runs around the outside, he goes off the road, but it's a legal overtake because look, he takes to the escape road and stays to the left side of the bollards and rejoins still ahead. So that's legal. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you take that committed outside line, then that's a legal overtake. If you go to the runoff area, you have to run round to the far side and go the left side of the bollards. If you rejoin and you're still ahead, that's fair game. So that is absolutely incredible. Kota, Igotzi, and Al-Azadi with Mattia Kolnagi now down to 7th position. Now then, the only way for Al-Azadi to win this championship now, that he restarts the race from 3rd position, he's going to have to work unbelievably hard to turn this around. If he can get into 2nd position, so if he can make the move on James Igotzi, then Kolnagi would need to be 9th. So Kolnagi is currently 7th. He would need to lose 2 places. Talk about Mission Impossible. Keanu Al-Azadi has clearly been watching Tom Cruise movies in between race 2 and race 3. He's got himself into a great position to fight for this championship. He's in 3rd. He can win the championship from 3rd, but only if Kolnagi doesn't score points. But he has to get the fastest lap of the race as well if he finishes 3rd. If he finishes 2nd, that will be good enough to win the title, providing that Kolnagi finishes 9th or lower. My goodness me. How can this turn around again in such a short space of time? But you can see there Mattia Kolnagi just trying to conserve into the first corner, and he ended up losing a lot of positions just off pure momentum. Rivera got ahead of him, so did Al-Azadi, so did Time for Nitschkel, and so did Nathan Tai. He cannot afford to lose positions now to Griffin Peebles and Maciej Gladish, because if they get ahead of him and Al-Azadi is in the top 3, then this championship suddenly becomes Keanu Al-Azadi's again. Al-Azadi's got to get 3rd and the fastest lap and hope that Kolnagi doesn't score, or if he finishes 2nd, then Kolnagi would need to be 9th or lower. But if Al-Azadi wins, then Kolnagi's got to be in 6th position minimum. If Al-Azadi gets the fastest lap as well, then Kolnagi would have to settle for 5th place to be champion. But that is looking pretty tight. If Al-Azadi can get ahead of Igotzi and Juan Cota on the restart, then all of a sudden, it looks like the boy from the United Arab Emirates could actually get this championship won after all. It was looking like a foregone conclusion. We saw that at the start of the broadcast. Alex and I were talking about it. We said you'd be forgiven for thinking it was a foregone conclusion coming into this race. But this is motorsport. It ain't over till the fat lady sings, and she hasn't even got her vocal cords warmed up yet. 23 minutes to go, plus the additional lap. Are we about to see the biggest turnaround in F4 Spanish Championship history? From 15 points down, could Keanu Al-Azadi actually transform this and turn it around and become the champion after all? Now, the Central 99 points out on YouTube, the penalty for Keanu Al-Azadi ruined everything for him in race 2, and it certainly did. A 5-second track limits penalty under safety car Wouldn't have been so bad if it was under race conditions. He might have scored a couple of points out of it. But as it stands, he is now having to give chase. And boy, is he chasing. On the start, he's already worked his way up to third from P6 on the grid. Colnaghi has slipped from 5th on the grid to 7th. If he keeps slipping and Chiara Malazzari keeps gaining, the championship might go his way after all. This is going to come down to the final point in the season, isn't it? Mattia Colnaghi said after race 2, look, this isn't won yet. I don't care if I've got a 15-point lead. Let's not get excited. This championship can turn around very quickly. And it looks like it's about to. Juan Cota will lead on the restart. James Zigotzi will be second. Two men who have not got a championship to fight for. Chiara Malazzari, meanwhile, more than has it to fight for. He needs to steal it back. Ernesto de Vera, leading rookie in P4, ahead of Enzo Tarvanichkul, Nathan Tai, and Mattia Colnaghi, who's going to struggle even to make it to the rookie podium, never mind the overall podium, the way things currently look. This isn't over. This is not over at all. Well, this is a fascinating situation. I'm getting a lot of questions about future engagements for motor racing with F4. Can't answer those yet because we're focusing on F4 Spanish Championship, but I do appreciate the intent from folk. All I'll say is watch this space on the social media. Hopefully announcements will be made soon. But of course, we've got an F4 Spanish Winter Series coming up in February and March as well. That'll be an exciting one to observe. The lights are about to go out on the safety car, and the F4 Spanish Championship showdown will continue. Lights out. Here we go. It's up to Juan Cota now to back up the pack effectively. James Zigotzi's got to read the situation well. If Chiara Malazzari reads it better than both of them, then all of a sudden the championship could be going to the Gulf rather than to Italy. This could be a fascinating pendulum swing in the championship fight. If Alazzari can win this race with Colnaghi down in 7th, he would be champion. Here we go! Juan Cota's gone for it. James Zigotzi has stayed fairly close to him. He's gone with him. So this is not going to be too bad a restart for James Zigotzi if he can get back on terms with Juan Cota, as running very wide. That's Nathan Tai kicking out wide onto the dust in front of Mattia Colnaghi. And it's green, 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 green as we battle for the title once more. 20 minutes to go in the 2024 F4 Spanish Championship season. Cota weaving, trying to break the toe of James Zigotzi. Alazzari's got pressure from Rivera into turn 1. Rivera having a think about it. Alazzari's not going to be crumbled. So can Cota and Zigotzi keep it clean as Zigotzi tries again to get a victory off of Juan Cota. Cota's done it 3 times this year already. Interestingly enough, the starting procedure is due to be investigated after the race. That'll be interesting to see what's happened there. And apparently car 55 has got to report to the stewards as well. That's Arya Bansal, who started all the way up in 8th place and now finds himself down in 19th. I'm going to keep an eye on the race control messages because we had quite a few significant changes as a result of some last-minute decision-making from race control in the previous race, of course. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on it as much as humanly possible. But certainly for the moment, it is fascinating to see how it is all progressing. But the starting procedure will be investigated after the race. And the team manager at Rodin Motorsport for car number 55, that's Arya Bansal, needs to report to the stewards immediately, apparently. So Cota leads the way. Zigotzi in 2nd place. Then we've got Alazzari under pressure from Ernesto de Vera and Enzo Tarvanichkul. Nathan Tai picks up the pieces in P6 behind him. Mattia Colnaghi down in P7 and could be under some threat. That's a big run wide from one of the drivers up in front. That could have been Chiara Alazzari under a big amount of pressure. Desperately trying not to let Cota and Zigotzi get too far ahead, but he's already lost a second to the 2 cars in front. So Cota and Zigotzi are now going to go to battle. Zigotzi has got Cota on the slipstream, but he's not going to be close enough to challenge into turn 1. Watch for Ernesto de Vera. In fact, watch for Tarvanichkul. Tarvanichkul's going to try and take on the Mexican. Around the outside into turn 1. Can Tarvanichkul keep his foot in? He really has to commit. He goes the long way round in the hope that he's going to have the momentum to get there. Past Ernesto de Vera. As long as he stays left, he can do it. He's done it. Absolutely brilliant. Enzo Tarvanichkul into 4th place then ahead of Ernesto de Vera, who backed out in the chicane. And it's a big lockup from James Zigotzi. Zigotzi locks up big time. Tarvanichkul's got a completely different racing line to Chiara Malazzari, and look at that, Time Vanichkul decides, look, I think I've gained an unfair advantage there on Ernesto Rivera. I've got to concede the position and let him go again. So Time Vanichkul actually decides to concede the position. Renault Franco has got ahead of Chase Fernandez on that sector as well, a little further behind them in the battle for 13th. So the Dutchman, Renault Franco, ahead of Chase Fernandez now, then Hudson Schwartz, and then just outside the lower end of the top 20, we've got Gomez, Flusha, Lammers, Fagali, and Arya Bansal. So what can Ernesto Rivera do about Chiara Malazzari? Having lost out initially to Time Vanichkul, he's managed to get the place back again, and he wants to put Chiara Malazzari under some pressure here. The Catalunya circuit is proving to be a real minefield for Malazzari, who once again is running the gauntlet on track limits. He's got to be so careful. He's already got a penalty for that once this weekend. He can't afford another one. Not when the championship is up for grabs. As they continue to work their way forward, the pressure really is mounting. But for Mattia Kolnagi, his lap times are okay. 7th position would do for him if things currently stand as they are. So it's not a major concern for him at this point. But there is the number 8 of Enzo Time Vanichkul, the young man from Thailand, former junior world champion in karting, up in P5, taking on Ernesto Rivera. So it'll be fascinating to see. And TWDX Lando has already pointed out, it's fascinating to see that Campos have already announced 3 of their drivers for Spanish F4 in 2025, namely Noah Montero, the son of the Formula 1 driver Tiago Montero, Vivek Kanthan, the very talented American ace, who I think you're going to see do a fantastic job when he gets into cars, and Miguel Costa, the very talented Brazilian driver. A lot of good names stepping out of karting into Spanish F4 next year. You're going to see another host of amazing rookies go to battle. For those who don't watch karting as closely as I do, trust me, you're going to have some amazing talent on the grid in 2025. But Juan Cota currently leads the way in this final race of the season. A little bit of a look there from Rivera. Doesn't commit to the overtake. He's still got a rookie victory secure in 4th position if he stays behind Malazzari. But he could really use a bit of a boost here. Malazzari needs a fastest lap, and for Kolnagi to drop out of the points if he's not going to move further than 3rd place. Not impossible, but he really needs to make this work out in his favour. But Juan Cota is getting the job done in the lead of the race here. Excellent racing so far from Juan Cota. Fresh off the start, beat James Agozzi off the line. Now he's got to keep it going. Now Malazzari's under some pressure here from Rivera. Rivera's putting him under a lot of threat down to the first corner. The only way Malazzari can win this championship is if he gets a podium finish. He's currently in 3rd place, but the only way he can do it from 3rd is if Kolnagi drops out of the points. So he's got to hope for a little bit more. There is Mattia Kolnagi. He's currently in 7th place, ahead of Peebles, Gladish, and Petrovsky. That's enough for him to be champion if he stays in P7, if Malazzari remains in 3rd. It's not going to be easy, but Mattia Kolnagi is still the champion-elect for the moment. It's going to be a nail-biter for these remaining 15 minutes or so of racing. A very tough end to the season for the Italian, Mattia Kolnagi. 4th rookie in the race. He won't care squat if he comes away with no silverware from this particular race, as long as he comes away from here as the F4 Spanish champion. Bit of a lock-up in front of him from Nathan Tai, but he manages to get the car turned in. Kolnagi's just got to stay focused. 7th will do. 7th will do. Don't panic. Down the back straight, down the crest. This is where focus and discipline are everything. Don't forget, these guys are in their first racing campaigns out of karting when they're in Formula 4. There's a lot more pressure on your shoulders as an F4 driver than there ever was in karting. People don't give karting the credit that it is actually due. We see some of the most amazing motorsport you're ever going to see in karting, but it's only really when we get into cars that look like smaller versions of Grand Prix races that drivers really start to gain the worldwide notoriety and the recognition that they actually deserve. So there's a lot more pressure on them when they get into cars, and Malazzari is feeling that pressure now. Down the straight again, trying to shake the toe of the Mexican Ernesto Rivera. Rivera is definitely close enough to make a slam dunk maneuver if he wants to. Malazzari slams the door in his face. Don't even think about it. Good racecraft, good discipline. Rivera was prepared for the door to be slammed shut in his face there. He's going to have another go at him. As long as you read the situation fairly maturely through those first couple of corners, you can come back for another go. But watch out for Enzo Tarmanichkul. If Tarmanichkul can have a go at it, then Ernesto de Vera is going to need to watch his back. Very good moves so far from Al-Azadi. He's just defending now in third position. This isn't really what he was hoping for. He wanted a little bit more pace from the car than this. He was hoping to try and go after Cota and Igozzi, but they seem to be handling tyres a lot better than Al-Azadi here in Catalonia. Is the championship about to slip through the boy from Dubai's fingers? It's been an amazing season for him. Vice champion in the F4 UAE Championship, losing out in the final round of the championship to Freddie Slater, who of course is now going to be in Formula Regional next year, having clinched the Italian F4 title a few weeks ago. Now the Spanish F4 title is very much up for grabs for Chiara Al-Azadi, but only if he can pick up the pace, only if his main rival Mattia Colnaghi drops out of the points. A chance again for Tarmanichkul, knocking on the door of Ernesto de Vera. He wants one more rookie win this year, and he needs to get ahead of Ernesto de Vera to get it done. Hustling the Mexican through the final turn. Enzo Tarmanichkul's had a tough year stepping out of karting into cars, but he has certainly made good use of every opportunity he's had. James Igozzi unable to stay with Juan Cota. Look at Al-Azadi really struggling to shake off the attentions of Ernesto de Vera. Rivera's got nothing to lose. He's having a think about it. Al-Azadi doesn't need to block him. Rivera doesn't commit into turn one this time. Tarmanichkul still stepping up the attack as Chris Elfagali, by the way, gets through on the inside of Lucas Flusha. So a nice move from Elfagali, the Lebanese driver, to work his way forward. And there's a genuine possibility that if Juan Cota wins this race, that he's actually going to overtake the Polish driver Maciej Gladish to seal third in the championship, as spotted by TWDX Lando on YouTube. He's done the maths. I've been so busy focusing on the leading two that Juan Cota is going to get third in the championship, almost under the radar here. Look at Rivera, really putting Al-Azadi under pressure. Al-Azadi's having to go major defense. He's had to be conservative off the turn. Now he's going to have to cut across the line. He'll move across to the apex again, as Rivera really has got his back against the ropes now. If Rivera gets one overtaking move on Al-Azadi and moves into third position, Al-Azadi can kiss the championship goodbye for now. Beautiful defensive tactics from Al-Azadi. Not a lot Rivera can do in response. If Tarmanichkul can get through instead, then that takes the heat off Al-Azadi for a short while longer. Mattia Colnaghi is sat there in 7th place, loving watching this. He'll know that third is not going to be enough for Al-Azadi. The battle continues on, and Tarmanichkul is a lot closer to Rivera going into the main straight than he was a lap ago, but Rivera is going to want to make a bid here on Al-Azadi. So can Tarmanichkul make a move on Rivera before Rivera gets a move on Al-Azadi? Down to the first corner. Don't forget, Rivera's got very little to lose. Al-Azadi's got it all to lose. He pulls to the middle of the circuit just to thwart the onslaught. I think he could sense there that Rivera was going to make a slam dunk up the inside and send it if he didn't get across the line to stop it from happening. A very tough race battle for Al-Azadi to hang on to here. But even if he finishes third, the fastest lap point that he would need as well is not going to be possible. He's already 4 seconds back now from James Igozzi, and as pointed out by Khaled Kleib, his defense is actually compromising his race. He's got a good point, but if the tyres haven't got anything left to give, then what choice does Chiara Al-Azadi really have? He's not going to get a fastest lap out of this, and he would need a third and a fastest lap minimum if Colnaghi doesn't score to win the championship. He could miss the championship just by not having the fastest lap bonus. If Colnaghi slips out of the points and Al-Azadi stays where he is, he needs that fastest lap to win the championship by 1 point. If they tie for points, the title will go to Colnaghi. So Juan Cota leads the way by 2.5 to James Igozzi in 2nd place, but Chiara Al-Azadi is really struggling on tyre degradation. It just looks to me as though the championship is not quite going to be in his ballpark today. What a shame for him. That penalty that he was given in race 2, completely destroying any chance he might have had of winning this championship. And without that track limits penalty, you could almost argue the championship would be and could be his. With the points lost, he would certainly have the advantage over Matti Kolnagi in this last race of the year, as side by side Kolnagi has got the strength and presence to go wheel to wheel with Nathan Ty. Can he get that to work as he goes wheel to wheel with a British driver? Ty hangs on. Kolnagi stays in the fight. But now Kolnagi has dropped back into the clutches of Peebles and Gladish. He's got to be careful. Going wheel to wheel with Nathan Ty has put him on the back foot a little bit there. Can't afford to lose too many positions. But even if Al-Azadi stays in third position, it won't be enough. Even if Kolnagi doesn't score, he's got to be third and have the fastest lap. But he's now 5 seconds back from Igotzi, never mind Juan Cota. So Juan Cota is dominating the last race of the season, and that should give him third in the Drivers' Championship, snatching that away from the Polish driver Maciej Gladish. But what an opportunity for Maciej Kolnagi. He just needs to stay where he is for the last 7 minutes, and that will do perfectly fine. So Maciej Gladish has lost a bit of ground there to Tim Gerhards. So Gerhards gets through into 9th position. Good to see Gerhards finally having a race that he can be proud of after so much bad luck this year for the Monlau Competition squad. But again, Al-Azadi is just resorting to defense. He doesn't have the raw pace to get a fastest lap out of this car on this circuit. He's been mighty on other circuits this year, but just because you're fast on one track doesn't mean you're going to be fast everywhere. Tarvanichko's got a good run off the turn to try and take on Ernesto Rivera. He's a lot closer than he has been in previous laps, and Rivera's not quite close enough yet to Al-Azadi to challenge, but Tarvanichko is not going to wait around. He's got an opportunity here. Rivera is swarming around, trying to make sure the Ty doesn't get the move, but can he get him round the outside? There's not a lot of room to play with, and Tarvanichko is going to commit around the outside. As long as he stays to the outside, that's perfectly okay. And he can slot in front of Ernesto Rivera. And who is out in first of the two of them? It is Tarvanichko. Now that is okay, but Rivera's going to come straight back at him and dive back through for the inside line on Tarvanichko. And he gets him back. So Rivera gets back past Tarvanichko on merit. Nathan Ty and Matti Kolnagi are watching this and waiting in the wings. Chiara Al-Azadi's watching it in his mirrors going, phew, that gives me a little bit of breathing space for a while longer. As Rivera hangs on to 4th position. Tarvanichko back down to 5th again. But look at how quickly Rivera is getting back on terms with Chiara Al-Azadi once again. He lost a good 7/10 of a second or so. You can see just on pure pace that Rivera has got a car that's giving him better tyre life than the MP of Chiara Al-Azadi has done. They've not had the best in terms of tyre life, in terms of setup this weekend, MP, either in the F4 Championship or in Euro Cup 3. Luca Di Madogno wants to know, is Kolnagi champion if it stays like this? The answer is yes. He would be the champion if it stays like this. Kolnagi, 7th position would be enough. The only way he loses the championship by staying down in 7th place is if Chiara Al-Azadi is able to get himself into the lead of the race. But it doesn't look as though he's got the pace to do that, sadly. He needs a bit of a miracle. And even if the two guys in front of him fall off the road, Matti Kolnagi would be looking at P5, and that would be enough for him to take the victory. So a lot more needs to happen for Chiara Al-Azadi to become champion, the way things are currently stacked up. And since the last safety car, for once, we've actually had a green race. So Chiara Al-Azadi could have used a few more opportunities for a safety car or two to get his way further forward. Of course, if it happens now, it's a little too late. There is Griffin Peebles being chased down by Tim Gerhards, and they are behind this man, Mattia Kolnagi, on course for the championship. In another 3.5 minutes, plus an additional lap with a little bit of change, the Italian could well be taking the F4 Spanish title home. Juan Cota leads by 2.8 seconds with the fastest lap of the race. 2nd place, James Igotzi, the man who started pole, and Chiara Al-Azadi doing everything he possibly can to sustain 3rd position, but 3rd is not enough for the championship title, even if Kolnagi drops out of the race, because 3rd would tie him for points. He needs 3rd and the fastest lap, and the car just doesn't seem to have that in him. An astonishing battle now continuing on as Al-Azhari continues to hold this cork firmly in the bottle. He does not want to let all of the air behind it escape past him. But look at Juan Cota. What an incredible second half of the season he's had. 3 victories at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia, and the gold medal in the FIA Motorsport Games quite recently as well. What an amazing second half of the season Juan Cota's had. There's Agozzi. Look back. There is Chiara Al-Azhari. That's how much time they've lost giving chase to each other. 7 seconds is the deficit. That is absolutely extraordinary. But I'm afraid it's just not quite going to be enough for Chiara Al-Azhari. He's done everything he can. He needed the podium. He's got into the podium positions. He did that nice and early. But the tyres are just not being kind to him in this race. Juan Cota, meanwhile, is just skating away. 3 seconds clear of James Agozzi. If he steps up into Euro Cup 3 next year, watch out. Juan Cota is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2025. The way he has stepped up the attack and worked his way forward has been monstrous. The team are delighted with his progress. They're watching on in the garage in the hope that this is going to be the run to the victory. There's a lot of nervous faces around to see how the final race of the championship plays out. But it looks to me as though it's going to be a championship win for Mattia Kolnagi. That's Tim Gerhardt's behind him now, having got ahead of Griffin Peebles. In fact, Peebles has lost a couple of positions by the look of it. There's Gladish and Proshrovsky, I think, are now ahead of him, or at least giving him challenge, if not ahead. You can see the teams watching along, nervously waiting for the party to start. We've got a minute left of the season on race time. There's James Agozzi in second. Chiara Al-Azhari's got to continue swarming around to shake off Rivera and Tan Manichkul. 2 laps left of the season. Tan Manichkul side by side nearly with Ernesto Rivera. Surely he'll commit to the overtaking move this time. And Rivera doesn't even look like he's going to fight it. Tan Manichkul is through. So Enzo Tan Manichkul gets in a 4th position on the penultimate lap of the season. Well, the battle is still raging. But Enzo Tan Manichkul is the man on the move. He's got into 4th position now, ahead of Ernesto Rivera. Perhaps Rivera used up his tyres too much, trying to make the move on Chiara Al-Azhari. So now Enzo Tan Manichkul can go for an overall podium, but he can certainly go for a rookie win. He leads in the rookie category ahead of Rivera and Tai. But overall, it's going to be Cota, Agozzi and Al-Azhari on the podium. 3, 2, 1. The season just ended on time allocated. So now we've got to finish this lap and the extra bonus lap, and then the season is over. Juan Cota is on course to take his 4th win of the season. James Agozzi to come home 2nd, his best result of the season. And Chiara Al-Azhari in the most frustrated podium you're ever going to see in the F4 Spanish Championship. It'll be good, but it won't quite be good enough. The frustration will be overwhelming for Chiara Al-Azhari, especially now he's got Enzo Tan Manichkul chasing him down as well. Into the final lap goes Juan Cota for the Drivex team. They waited 4 years for a race victory. They got 3 in 1 weekend at Valencia. And now they're going to get win number 4 that will put Juan Cota into 3rd in the championship. James Agozzi looking good in 2nd place. But on the final lap of the season, Al-Azhari is hanging on to it as Ernesto Rivera's got a 5-second penalty for track limits. So he's going to drop back. That's even better news for Mattia Kolnagi. Kolnagi's going to inherit P6, and that will guarantee the championship for the Italian. That will put it to bed. This is going to be a fabulous final lap of the season as Al-Azhari's got to do his best to fend off from Enzo Tan Manichkul. Former teammates in the karting awnings at Tony Kart's factory team. Chiara Al-Azhari was a senior when Enzo Tan Manichkul was a junior. But what an amazing battle it's been for these two as Ernesto Rivera concedes defeat, and he's going to lose another 5 seconds with a track limits penalty. That's going to drop him behind Tai. The 46 has got one as well. Tai's got a penalty too. That means that Mattia Kolnagi is going to be elevated to P5. He will win the championship by even more points than he first realised. The panic is over for Mattia Kolnagi. That could actually give Maciej Gladish enough points to be close enough to Juan Cota at the end of the season. But that's going to be an interesting subplot. Lock up into the hairpin. Mattia Kolnagi is going to inherit the positions from both Ernesto Rivera and Nathan Tai, but Juan Cota is going to come through for win number 4 in 2024 in Spanish F4. Juan Cota wins at Barcelona. Second is James Igozzi. A great run for the two of them. But here comes Keanu Alazari, so near, but so far. He finishes third ahead of Enzo Tarvinichkul, and with the penalties applied, Mattia Kolnagi is fifth, and he becomes the F4 Spanish champion 2024, undisputed. Mattia Kolnagi is champion. Juan Cota wins, Alazari makes the podium, but Mattia Kolnagi is the champion of 2024. Gerhards inherits sixth ahead of Gladish, Peebles, Petrovsky and Buzinelos, as sadly Rivera and Tai fall out of the points at the end of the proceedings. But what an end to the season. Juan Cota is a 4-time winner. Keanu Alazari fights valiantly to make the podium. You can't begrudge him the drive. He did a great job to fight back. But in P5, Mattia Kolnagi is the F4 Spanish champion 2024. Well done to this man as well, Enzo Tarvinichkul. He picks up the rookie victory, and he will share the podium with the new champion. And of course, Mattia Kolnagi will be the champion in both rookie and overall. And with that elevation for Maciej Gladish, I think Gladish is actually going to seal third position ahead of Juan Cota by just 1 point. Absolutely extraordinary result for Juan Cota. Fourth different win. And a magnificent display from Juan Cota. You can be so happy with what he's achieved here. Excellent display. Igozzi in second place, Keanu Alazari, a valiant P3. Tarvinichkul in fourth, but Mattia Kolnagi kept it smooth, he kept it cool, he kept it calm. He needed to, and fifth position is the award. Mattia Kolnagi takes the victory in the championship fight then in P5. Excellent performance. A great display at the end of a fabulous season. There is the winner for the 4th time this year, Juan Cota. Excellent display. He finishes the season P4 after win number 4 in Spanish F4 2024. But what a turnaround his season has had. And no one can take away from the fact that he was the gold medal winner at Valencia just before the DANA incident. Emotional times down there in the pits as Juan Cota wins the final race of the season. James Igozzi in P2. And third position for Keanu Alazari. So close, so close. But he will not be the champion in Spanish F4, as I'm sure both drivers will be looking to step up to the next rung of the ladder, up to Euro Cup 3, or maybe even Formula Regional next year. Keanu Alazari comes into the pits. You can see him on your left side of the screen. How close did he come to winning the championship title? He'll be miserable, it'll hurt, but he gave it everything he had. And he stands on the top of his car and celebrates with his MP team. What a season. So close to winning the championship. You can't say he didn't give it everything he had. A great effort from Keanu Alazari. But as we look at the highlights on the main inset, we are about to see pictures, I'm sure, of the new F4 Spanish champion for 2024. His name, Mattia Kolnagi of Italy. Commiserations to Keanu Alazari. And look at where he's going. He's going to find Mattia Kolnagi, I believe. There he is. Mattia Kolnagi holds the board. F4 Spanish champion 2024. And now that the photo is finished, look who's gone to congratulate him. The boys from MP. But Keanu Alazari will congratulate him as well, I'm sure. Great camaraderie and great sportsmanship in that awning. Look at that. The championship contenders embrace after a fair fight this season. Gianni Malazzari and Mattia Colnaghi. Colnaghi is the champion. He will get to go onto the podium because he'll be second in the rookie category. But he's won the championship title in both rookie and overall. What an amazing young star. The Italian stallion, Mattia Colnaghi. Excellent display. And thanks to the penalties that were handed out, as pointed out by Zelank on YouTube, Matija Gladic does actually keep his third position in the championship by just a mere point. But well done to Mattia Colnaghi. It is now official. Drivers' champion. What a season. Right from the first round of the championship, Mattia Colnaghi had good, consistent pace. And that's been the mark of his championship season. It's not about what you do when you win. It's about what you do when you don't. And he has been so good at scoring top 5, top 6 finishes all through the year. That's what's kept him in the hunt. His MP mechanics come over to congratulate him on what has been a fabulous season. And I think the journey to the top of the sport is just getting started for Mattia Colnaghi. That's a name you're going to hear quite often. And interestingly enough, we still haven't had a Spanish F4 champion from Spain. Ironically enough, as TWDX Lando points out, I suppose the closest we've had is Franco Colapinto, who speaks Spanish as a native tongue. But Juan Cota, our race winner for the 4th time in 2024, has found Alex Garcia. Let's hear from the winner.
Juan Cota, congratulations for the 4th time this season, and what a congratulations also from the runner-up this year with Keanu Lazzari congratulating you. What a race once again. How do you do that? How do you get these performances every now and then?
Super good, super happy about this performance, about this race. What I am, no? Amazing end, last race of the year. We win this race. I'm super happy with the speed. Yeah, thanks to all.
And we were saying this before, how important it is to finish the season with a result like this, because you get all this momentum for next year and all this good feeling that for the winter. How do you value that? How do you think it motivates you for next year when you finish a season like this?
Yeah, I think it's really important to finish like that the year also with a win in the FIA Motorsport Games. It's going to help us a lot to get new offers, new opportunities for the next season. But yeah, we are going to fight with this team as well, but in the next category.
And of course, you know, everyone is going to be talking about the title contenders, but you're probably thinking, hey, save some information for me, because I'm here as well and I can fight with these guys.
Yeah, well, we have a bad thing. The start decision was not what we want. We fucked it a little bit on the first rounds, but well, it is what it is. We have to be happy with this half of the season, and yeah, waiting for the next year to start in a better way the year.
All right, Juan, congratulations once again. Enjoy the win. And good luck next year in the next challenge.
Thank you so much.
So this is today's winner, Juan Cota, once again for the 4th time. And what a way you've seen that, how the runner-up, Keanu Lazzari, kept the moment, both for the champion, also for the winner today. So what a gentleman in such a difficult moment as well, of course, because, as you know, losing a championship is not easy, but congratulating those that got the success today is also important, and it's a true show of character. It's impossible not to have a heart going out for him, because in this kind of difficult moment, you know, thinking of that elegance is, I think, top sportsmanship.
Yeah, the hallmark of a great racing driver is the elegance and grace of defeat. And Gianni Malazzari came so close to being the F4 Spanish champion, but I don't think that's the last you've heard of him. It's going to be so much progression for him as he steps his way up. Juan Cota already talking about the next step up the ladder. We could well see him fighting for the Euro Cup 3 title as a rookie next year. But one of the bets that we could see Matija Colnaghi step up, Matija Gladic step up, Gianni Malazzari step up. We've seen them all come through in F4 over the last couple of seasons. Now the next challenge awaits them in 2025, and we are so excited to see what they will bring to the motorsport community.
This is for sure the cream of the crop in Formula 4, so seeing them stepping up to Euro Cup 3 for sure is going to be interesting for next year. And, you know, we also had a little bit of breaking news thanks to Juan Cota, clearly saying, you know, we're going to fight with this team next year, but in the higher category. So, I don't think there needs much translation for that. So we know exactly what he means. And I think it's great to see all these drivers, stepping up to the next class and showing that they can continue to grow. Of course, Jake, as you say, you're thinking about next stepping up, but I'm also thinking Formula 4 is going to have next year new drivers as well, who are probably going to make us, enjoy racing as much as we've done this year. So I look forward to that as well.
It's what I love about Spanish F4. The carousel never stops turning. Muchas gracias, Alex Garcia. I know you need to step over to the Spanish language broadcast to close up proceedings, but thank you for all your hard work this year. It's been an absolute pleasure. Well, what an amazing performance from the drivers in Spanish F4. We've had a fantastic conclusion to the season. Mattia Colnaghi winning the F4 Spanish title in fantastic fashion. He also, of course, wraps up the rookie drivers standings. That's pretty much all there is from the F4 Spanish Championship then in 2024. But don't forget that we have obviously got some of our drivers continuing to race in the closed season. And of course, in the early part of 2025, we have our Winter Championship for the F4 Spanish Championship Brigade. And the Eurocup 3 also has a Spanish Championship Winter Series that will take place over February and March. We've finished proceedings here at Catalonia by reminding everybody that we continue to stand with Valencia. If you do have the ability to give generously, please do support the local community. It's a very close matter to our hearts, a very sad and somber end to the season in Spanish motorsport, but at least the show continues. The show must go on. The racing carries on. It's what everybody would want. And what a great way to end the season. We finish with a barnstormer of a showdown. Mattia Colnaghi versus Chiara Malazzari. And it's the Italian stallion that comes out on top in a brilliant season. Join us again for more great action from the F4 Spanish Championship on track in 2025. But we can't leave Catalonia without one final trip to the podium ceremony. Chiara Malazzari steps his way to third position. A fabulous performance from James Zigotzi, the young man from Miami. He gets second place, the Red Bull Junior, who I'm sure will get another crack with the Red Bull Junior squad next year. But look at the joy, unbridled enthusiasm from Juan Cota. Even Chiara Malazzari's got a smile for him on the top step of the podium. The final race of the season, we'll hear the Spanish national anthem for Juan Cota. How fitting, how appropriate that the last race of the season in the F4 Spanish Championship is won by one of their own homegrown talents, Juan Cota, supported by the Spanish Federation throughout this season. A great way to end the year and a very joyous occasion for our three drivers on the podium. For Chiara Malazzari, he'll be disappointed, I'm sure, but his grace, his discipline, his sportsmanship will win out as Drivex pick up their fourth win of the season, having waited 4 years for their previous success before this year. Chiara Malazzari accepts the third place trophy. He gave it everything he had, and he can hold his head up high. He's the vice champion of Spanish F4 2024. He deserved more, but he'll take it with a smile of pride. James Zigotzi ends the season in fine form, the American who races under an Italian license here in Europe. But a great performance from James Zigotzi. Juan Cota is the victor once again for the fourth time this year, and he ends the season on his terms. A Spanish winner in the F4 Spanish Championship to end the season. How fitting. We can't wait for 2025. It's going to be an amazing continuation of the journey of these youngsters. But just as some big names start to work their way up the ladder, there's always space for new ones to join in. From Jake Sanson, from Alex Garcia, from the whole crew, we hope you've enjoyed the F4 Spanish Championship in 2024, and you'll be back for more in 2025. Goodbye for now.